Okay, everyone, welcome to this session, How to Succeed in A-Level Maths. Great to see you here. Just to let you know, I am recording this session, so you might want to switch off your camera and mute your mic so we don't have any disruptions. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm really happy to be running this session because I see a lot of students really struggling with this transition between year 11 and year 12. So hopefully I can give you some tips and tricks to help you succeed in that. Okay. So let's get going. And this is what I want to cover in the session. First of all, I want to discuss why students find A-level difficult. What is it that makes it a challenging time? And I'm going to go to how to prepare for the year ahead, how to stay organized. So really practical advice on what you can do to make year 12 easier for yourself and more successful. And I'm going to give you some tips as to where to find resources for revising and what habits you should be thinking of in order to be successful in A-levels. Before we go into any of that, I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Kat. I'm an educator and I provide maths tuition, also study skills workshop like this one, to help students be the best that they can. I'm really passionate about showing people how to achieve their full potential and how to enjoy learning, how to make learning a little bit easier as well. So that's me here. Okay, so when you start studying A-levels and when you see other people and maybe you see your older peers, success could look like what's on the left here, that it's very straightforward. You just start somewhere and you carry on. You study, you revise, and then you achieve a great grade. However, it's not always like that. And there are people who struggle with A-levels and whose way to success is quite messy. You can make this way a little bit smoother, not completely straightforward, but a little bit smoother by following some advice that I'll be talking about today. So let's first of all have a look at why students are finding A-levels so hard. And I've divided this into two parts: the subject content and the mindset. So the subject content is all about the courses that you've chosen and how they are structured, the exams that come at the end of the course. And the subject content is quite demanding at A-levels and is not as at GCSEs one. It's a lot of recall facts or just applying simple methods to problems. It's more about applying knowledge to unknown situations. So this is a challenge. And sometimes you might have some gaps from GCSE that will make progressing to A-level quite difficult. And I reckon especially given that your time studying GCSEs was quite disrupted in the past 2 years, this might be an issue too. And then we have the second part of finding A-levels hard, which is more to do with mindset. So it's not so much about what the subjects are about, it's about how you behave, how you think, and how you respond to difficult situations. So lack of structure might be a challenge because your teachers will not tell you as much and will not be on your back as much as they might have been in previous years. It might be that you struggle with independent work outside of the classroom. So again, that kind of ties in with structure. Or maybe you're not very well organized and that's holding you back. And also low resilience is a problem. So not being able to deal with difficult situations or making mistakes. So if you look at these two, Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the subject content part of things because we can't change the way the subject is, and we can't change how the syllabus has been set up. But you can influence this part by picking your subjects wisely. And you would have made some choices already. You would have indicated to your school what you want to study, and that's fine. So you will get started with your subjects. But if 2 weeks if a month in, you feel like you don't enjoy that subject, that it's too difficult or not what you were expected, or maybe you don't get on with the teacher, ask for a swap if there is another subject that you would rather do. Because if you do it now, if you do it in September, it's not the end of the world because you can still catch up. Whereas the longer you leave it, the harder it will become. So just think about the subjects as you start your courses. Approach it with a open mind, and just be really honest with yourself. Is this something that I want to spend 2 years doing, or would I rather do something else? Okay, so that's what I would like you to think about for the subject content part of things. But if we look at the mindsets and habits, this is why most of the students struggle in year 12 and beyond. Actually, it carries into year 13 and carries into university if you choose to go into further education. Because without a right mindset and without the right study habits, you cannot be successful because you will not learn effectively. But the good news is that you can actually do quite a lot to change that, and you can implement these changes straight away. And the earlier you start with this, the better. So this is what I want to focus in this session. What structures, what habits you can create right now in September, so that moving forward, you really benefit from them. And this benefit will carry with you beyond school as well, into uni, into workplace, any apprenticeship or internships that you might have. It will really help you in general life, not only for A levels, but that's what I'm going to focus on. So my first tip is to get organized. And I have a little picture here. Relax, just try to keep your mind organized, and your mind is a mess and you have so much to do and so much on your mind. This is why being organized is so important, because there will be a lot going on in school or outside of school. You know, if you have any hobbies or any other responsibilities, maybe you have a job in the evenings or something, there will be a lot. And you want to make sure that you organize as much of it as possible into a simple, reliable system. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So this is very practical. So this is how you're going to do it. Before you go into school, you're going to buy a ring binder with dividers for each subject. And I actually have one here. It's just a ring binder, and it has dividers in one for every subject. So you will write your subjects down in here, so that when you make your notes and when you work through them, it's really easy to find what you need. One of the problems with A levels is that you'll get a lot of stuff coming in from different sources, and you want to have everything in one place so you can refer back to it. So a ring binder is absolute must. And then you are going to use a writing pad, file your notes in chronological order after you've made them lessons. So just a standard writing pad that you can tear up the pages, put in your ring binder. Now, I know some students really like notebooks. I don't think they work very well, to be honest, because you will find very quickly is that you make some notes and then your teacher gives you an extra sheet, or you get a test on a specific topic and you want to file it in. And it's really quite difficult to file things properly with a notebook, and it's a really inflexible tool. So I would recommend a writing pad, and make sure that you date your sheets. So put a date in on each sheet of paper so that you can keep track and make sure that if your folder explodes, you know where everything belongs. This might seem like a very simple thing, but this is going to make your life so much easier. You will know where everything is. You will have a way to refer back to things. And if you feel really keen, you can have a separate folder for each subject at home, so that when you finish the unit, the notes from that main folder that you take to school come out, they filed away, and then if you need to revise or if you need to bring something back to class, you can just pull it out of that separate ring binder. So get yourself a ring binder, bring it to school, get those notes in order. Now, another thing that is really useful is an easily accessible homework folder. You could put your homework with all of the other lesson sheets in each part of your binder. However, you will not see it straight away, and you will probably forget about it. So an easily accessible homework folder is very important. I've got one here. You can stick it into your ring binder. It's just it's a Velcro, but you can have a pop closure as well. Keep it at the front, and you will see instantly that there is something there that needs your attention. And finally, use calendar for deadlines, exams, and other important dates. So you can have a paper diary. I love having a paper diary. I really enjoy using it. But for deadlines, exams, and such things, I recommend you actually use an app on your phone, so that you get notifications. It's super easy to put in. So in the lesson, when your teacher says, oh, there will be a test on such and such day, you can put in, and you can set yourself a reminder that will come in a week before or 3 days before, however long you think is necessary, so you don't forget about that test or that deadline or whatever it might be. So a phone with the calendar app is an amazing addition that will help you keep organized during your A-level studies. It's really important to start this early, because you will find that there isn't a very long, slow build-up in A-levels. We will go straight in with material. So you do want to make sure that that you have those things in place from day one. Okay, so that's being organized. Now, you also need to be prepared for hard work. And I would say, especially if you find GCSEs a work in the park, I get a lot of students who come to me and say, well, but I found GCSE maths so easy. I've never had to revise for a test. I just listened in class or half listened in class and I got it all. And it's not possible at A-levels. You need to pay attention. You need to be prepared for hard work. And you can do it in many ways. I'm going to suggest some. So first of all, free periods are not free. Once you get your timetable, or maybe you've already had one and you've noticed that, you will have a lot of lessons during the week that are empty. You don't have contact time. You don't have to be somewhere with a teacher. But don't be tempted to just watch TikToks during that time. It is still school time, and I'm all for a balance. So you don't want to be working every single minute or every single hour of your free periods. That's fine. But for the vast majority of them, you want to be doing something productive, because the more you do in school, the less you will have to finish at home. So I have a few suggestions at what you could do with free periods, because sometimes when I used to supervise A-level students, I would come in and I would ask, what are you doing during this free period? And they would say, oh, I have nothing to do. There's always something to do at A-levels. You could complete extra practice questions. Use your textbook. There will always be questions there that you could answer. There will be usually answers at the back, so you can check them. You might want to go over last lessons material. So that's your regular review that you can do. You can complete homework. I would suggest that you create a to-do list to stay focused. So you might want to have like a massive to-do list with all of the stuff that needs to be done at some point, not necessarily right now. And if you find yourself sitting in a free period and being, I have no idea what to do, well, you take out your to-do list and you see that actually there is something that you need to take care of. You can prepare revision cards. Again, that's a great way to start revising and also help your future self when it comes to exams. You have something to work with already. You might want to do uni research instead of leaving it until this time next year and kind of trying to scramble for ideas for what courses to do and where to go and so on. You might just want to do that. Research courses that might interest you, find if there are any open days coming up or virtual tours or whatever else. Use that time wisely. But please remember that free periods are not really free. They're there to make sure that you get some work done. Okay. Now, another thing that I would like to emphasize is that you need to revise regularly. So again, that's a difference from GCSEs. Cramming just before an exam is not an option for A-levels. You will really struggle if you try to do it. You could cram before an A-level test that you have at school regularly, but not before the actual exam, especially that most exams are held at the end of 2 years these days. So review your lessons regularly, answer some exam questions or complete a revision quiz or whatever it might be. Just make sure that you stay on the top of it. So every time you finish a bit of work at school, just go over it at home. And I would like you to get into a habit of using past papers and mark schemes. Not a lot of students use those. They are on the exam board website. So if you Google, I know, AQA A-level physics, if you're doing that, it will come up with the website and there will be past papers there. There are some exam questions workbooks that are really great. They just have exam questions, which is the practice that you want to be doing. If you're doing more of a research-based subject or like an essay-based subject, like English literature or maybe psychology, politics, check footnotes in the textbook for extra reading material. The more you know, the more you will have to say in an essay. And also ask teachers for extra feedback. So if you've written an essay, just give it to your teacher. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to check that for you. If you've done some exercises and you can't work out what went wrong, ask your teachers. Use your teachers to your advantage. They're there to help you and they'll be more than happy to do that. And a note about how to find those revision resources that I've been talking about. Past papers and mark schemes I've already mentioned. Make sure you know how to find them, where they are. If you're not sure what exam board you're doing, or sometimes there is an exam board has more than one qualification in the same subject, just ask your teacher again and find those. There are a lot of educational podcasts. So if you search up for A-level, whatever subject podcast, it will be there. It's quite nice way to get some more revision time if you're traveling to school for a longer period of time. Listen to something on the bus. And I've also put a bunch of links here for different websites that gather together subject-specific and exam board-specific resources for you to have a look at. There's plenty out there. You just need to proactively find it rather than wait for your teacher to hand you the stuff, because they probably won't. They want you to be more independent at this stage. And final thing about mindset. Mistakes are a fact of life and you will make mistakes. You will sometimes fail or get a less than good grade, and it's fine. Because it's your response to that actually matters. It's an opportunity to improve. So a few things that you can do to have that mindset of actually, I'm going to act on this mistake, on the feedback, and work out how to move forward. This is what you can do. You could Ask your teacher for help, obviously, and don't compare yourself to others, because others would have done different things than you in order to arrive at their grade. So be really mindful of that. I know it's not something that comes naturally, but be mindful of that. Go back over the work that you done and received feedback on. Don't just file it away in your folder. Actually read the feedback and work out how to improve. And also reward yourself for progress. Do not reward yourself for getting a certain grade. So don't say, I'm only going to reward myself if I get an A in the essay, but maybe reward yourself for getting more marks in a particular part of an essay, or for better vocabulary, or for better quotes or references, or whatever it might be. And I would encourage you to read about growth mindset and implement some growth mindset strategies. So growth mindset is all about knowing that the journey matters as much as just getting to the destination. So the learning is a process that takes a fair bit of failing before you actually achieve something, and being okay with that. That's basically growth mindset, saying that I'm not good at it yet, but I can be good at it if I work on it. Now, an interesting bit of research shows that when you make a mistake, even if you're not aware yet that it is a mistake, your brain still fires up and lights up and grows in a way that it doesn't necessarily grow if you just get everything right. So really embrace making mistakes. It is a valuable lesson. There we go. And I would like to finish with this last part, which is habits for successful year 12 and beyond. Because you need to have certain basic things in place in your life in order to be successful. And I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas, but do not try to do them all at once. Pick something that you think will be fairly easy for you to incorporate into your life, and then make those changes slowly. So one thing at a time, start small. So very basic, but yet nobody seems to be listening to this. Do not stay up until 3 a.m. to binge watch Netflix, but try to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and maybe have an occasional afternoon nap. I've known some students who get back home after school, and they just go to sleep for a couple of hours and then feel refreshed afterwards and get some work done before actually going to sleep in the evening. So maybe you need that. If you are tired during the day, you will not achieve anything because your brain will not work at 100% capacity. It will just slow down to make up for the fact that it's very tired. So try to get that sleep as much as you can. It won't be possible every night. Sometimes you will have that deadline that you've missed and you just need to get something done quickly. That's fine. Sometimes you will go to a party or I don't know, visit some friends or relatives, and you will not get that sleep. That's fine. But as long as you get that enough sleep, generally as a whole, you will do so much better. Do not go to school on an empty stomach. A lot of people say, oh, I just don't feel like eating in the morning. But it's really important that you do, because you do not want to kind of keep thinking about the break time when you're in school, during the first period. So find breakfasts that you enjoy and that is fairly nutritious, and just take 10 minutes each morning to sit down and eat it, or 5 minutes. Make yourself that same breakfast every day of the week if that makes it easier for you, but just have something. If it needs to be a cereal bar, let it be a cereal bar and a cup of tea, fine. But have something that gets you going in the morning. Do not stay cooped up inside all day. I know it has been quite difficult, especially with all the online lessons for the past year and a bit. And probably this is one way you relax when you get home, that you play a game or watch some videos or whatever that might be. But try to go for a walk or sit in the garden every day to catch some sun and get some fresh air. There doesn't have to be a long period of time that you do that for. Could be 5 minutes, you just go around the block, or you take a dog out, or whatever else that might be. But make sure you're outside. It's really great for your body. You need vitamin D. So make sure that you go out as well. Don't study from your bed or a busy kitchen, but find designated study space. This could be more of a challenge for some of you if you just don't have space at home. And that's fine. If you do not have your own room or you don't have a desk in your room, it can be quite a challenge. But what you can do is just find a corner of the house somewhere where you can be fairly undisturbed. Or alternatively, make use of a local library, for example, or even a coffee shop could be a good place. I find that a pair of noise cancelling headphones is a godsend. So if you live in a busy house and there's nowhere for you to hide from the noise, just use noise cancelling headphones to create that space that is free of distractions. The reason why it's so important is that your brain will pick up all of the different cues that are going on around you and will not focus fully on what you're working on. So just make sure you have that space, a bit of a oasis, so to say, where you can study. Don't work on whatever you feel like on the day. Sometimes you might feel like, oh, I really do not want to do English. I would rather do chemistry or something. Create a balanced schedule instead. And what I mean by that is that you have an idea of what subject you are going to be doing every free period or every night of the week. What you want to do essentially is to remove choice in the moment where you probably can't be bothered to do stuff, right? So if I'm tired and I need to make a choice between eating fast food or eating a salad, I will choose fast food pretty much every time, because my brain does not want to make the hard and good decision of eating something healthy. It's the same when you do your work. If you have a choice of doing something easy or doing something fun rather than completing the homework that you've been set, you will not make the good choice. So if you have a schedule that is balanced, so every subject has its place, there is some room for breaks, this will help you to stay on the top of things. Don't scroll through social media while studying, but remove distractions during scheduled study sessions. This is quite hard. And I know I'm guilty of this when I'm working on something. It's just so easy to pick up your phone and check a notification or check what message came through. If you need to leave the phone in a different room or put in airplane mode, just do not have it easily accessible. Like I have my phone here and I'm constantly tempted to just see if someone messaged me, which is completely unnecessary. Your brain, unfortunately, is not good at switching between tasks, which is something that I'm going on to. Don't multitask. Your brain can't do that. It's a myth. Your brain just switches between one and the other, not giving any of the tasks actual attention. So work out at one thing on one thing at a time. So if you're writing the essay, just write the essay. Don't try to figure out some bits and pieces that you need for something else. Just do one thing at a time, and use timers to help you stay focused. I find that if there is a defined time that something you're working on needs to be done in, your brain just finds it easier to focus. So let's say that you're doing some practice questions. Instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to do all of the mixed exercise from the end of that chapter, instead of doing that, say, I'm going to work on these questions really hard, fully focused for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, half an hour, however long you want to do it. And just the one thing that you're going to do during that time is that mixed exercise. Now use timers. I have a analog timer here, because if I use my phone, I'm going to check for messages. Okay, so I'm using a timer. This is quite a nice one because it doesn't make any sounds. So it doesn't have this awful ticking that some of the kitchen timers have, and it doesn't actually make a sound when the time's up. So it's quite useful. There are loads of those on Amazon, so just have a look for a silent timer. But it's really important that you try to do one thing at a time. It might not work straight away, but that's absolutely fine. Just something to work on this September. Now, above all, try to enjoy your A-levels. It will be hard work, but it will be really rewarding. Hopefully, if you pick a subject that really interests you, it will be an easier task to accomplish. And don't sweat the small stuff. Sometimes the little things get to us, especially if we're stressed or we're struggling with something. So let go of things that are not worth the bother. You know, if someone annoyed you, just let go. If you got a bit of a rubbish feedback, just act on it and then let go, so you can move on and become better. Okay, well, thank you for joining me today. Hopefully this was a helpful session. Here are more different ways to get in touch with me if you want to. I do provide private maths tuition, so if you do maths A-levels, I'll be glad to help. I also run those study skills session every so often, so have a look at my website, Facebook or Instagram to keep up to date. Thank you very much, and good luck in your A-levels. Thanks, guys. Bye.